Agriculture, it's the foundation of Nebraska. We celebrate National Egg Week, from the farm to your dinner plate. And have we seen the first shots fired in a trade war? Why the beef state may be most worried about soybeans.
I wanted to give back to agriculture.
And the new state fair director brings a passion for the farm and ranch to her job. It's time to grow. Welcome to the program. Nebraska's #1 for beef, but soybean growers may have the most at stake when it comes to trade. Talk of a trade war could be devastating.
Watch the corn going in, but
Zach Honeycutt spends long hours on the tractor, harvesting crops that could travel the globe.
it's kind of easy to lose track of that these products are going across the world.
On this farm, trade is a little more tangible because of the popcorn they produce.
You know, our popcorn has gone upwards of 70 countries around the world.
In Nebraska, one commodity benefits from trade more than any other, and it's not beef or corn.
In 42 counties in the state, soybeans were the top export commodity in terms of value.
The light blue shows counties where soybeans are likely the greatest export. Blue for beef, yellow for corn. A new Farm Bureau analysis shows Nebraska ranks 5th among states for egg exports, $6.6 billion a year.
A figure that has been growing. It has been growing rapidly over the last few years.
Soybeans are important because so many are exported, especially to China. Many now fear the president's tariffs on steel could result in retaliation.
It certainly is our fear that you begin that process of initiating what we've talked about as a trade war, where you have a tit-for-tat retaliation of things, and that's a very real concern for us.
Zach Honeycutt says that would be bad for schools and rural communities. And if America wants to win again, agriculture leads the way.
Agriculture has been a real trade win for America for a long time, and I think it's gone so smoothly for so long that I think it's easy to take for granted.
Corn and beef exports from the state each topped $1 billion last year, but it's soybeans leading the way with $1.6 billion in exports. Meanwhile, sorghum growers also wait anxiously. As the sorghum board met in Grand Island, Mike Baker Trenton said sorghum, also called milo, of course, is often one of the first crops targeted. The president's tariffs and reaction from China bring uncertainty to the markets. And while they try to stay in the black, growers say sorghum remains a good rotational crop, especially because it's drought tolerant. The sorghum board continues to seek new markets. As far as the economics, Baker says agriculture is cyclical. He hopes in a year or two prices will rebound. They just hope to get these trade issues settled down. Pork producers, too, feel the weight of these discussions. NTV's Valerie Juarez continues our team coverage.
China currently proposing a list of 100 new tariffs on American exports, and pork certainly on top of the list.
China imposing the 25% tariff imports to anything we export to them, it's going to be real detrimental to all the U.S. pork producers and Nebraska pork producers.
Darren Euler, the recently elected president for the Nebraska pork producers, saying this in no way would help the local economy and only hurt those in the business.
Exports are critical to Nebraska and all U.S. pork producers. Last year we shipped more than 26% of our total pork production to international destinations with a value of over $6.5 billion. Last year of that, U.S. pork exported, 1.1 billion of that went to China, making it our #2 in volume and our #3 in value exports.
But U.S. markets are already falling after President Donald Trump released his plan to implement more tariffs on China imports. This leaving Nebraska pork producers to question economic security.
When you hear markets go up and down, as an owner of the pigs, yeah, there's a concern there because you're worried about what your bottom dollar is going to be and if you're going to be able to turn a profit or not. But from an employment standpoint, there's always going to be jobs for people.
Euler telling me Nebraska has a great advantage for those wanting to raise pigs.
We are a great state to be a pork producer. We have an unlimited amount of space to be able to raise animals in. We have a good amount of fresh corn coming in from all of our corn crops, and we got obviously a good water source.
Now, before any tariffs can be placed, China and the U.S. will have to undergo a 30-day period of discussions with the World Trade Organization.
Meanwhile, Congress passes a spending deal, and Senator Fisher says it includes good things for agriculture. Among other things, Fisher says the spending deal has some provisions she's been pushing for. That includes eliminating a provision that would have required emissions reporting for livestock operations, plus an extension of the waiver for livestock haulers to give more time to work out the hours of service issue. And Senator Fisher says a fix to the 199A issue with co-ops created by the president's tax cuts. Senator Fisher and other farm state senators urged the president to honor his commitment to ethanol. Senator Fisher asked President Trump to stand by the renewable fuel standard, in particular credits known as RINs. There's been an effort to cap that. Local farmers fear that would send corn prices down at a time when they can't afford that.
In my neighborhood, there are many farms, even this last 2 weeks, that have come up for sale. So this could be something that we need to avoid. And that's why I say American agriculture is in respect under attack again.
Senator Fisher joined colleagues from Iowa, Missouri, and South Dakota in a letter to President Trump. They say any effort to limit ethanol blends would have severe and immediate impacts across the Midwest. The senators are asking for a meeting with the president to share their concerns. And during this National Ag Week, the Vice President honoring the nation's farmers and ranchers.
Our farmers, ranchers, producers, foresters, and researchers and engineers are enabling us to continue to feed ever more people using ever fewer resources, proving once again that agriculture is the field of the future.
During Ag Week, cattlemen from Dawson County beefing up school lunch. NTV's Sydney Edwards has our story.
The Dawson County Farm Bureau, cattlemen, and Tyson donated 1,400 pounds of beef to area schools for a beef day.
We're helping feed the world, so there's nothing better than that.
Savannah Peterson is a future farmer and a sophomore at Gothenburg Public Schools. She says Beef Day means a lot to the community.
I know we have a couple friends that go to a couple other schools, and they're all looking forward to it too.
The Farm Bureau and cattlemen say they wanted to give students a nutritious lunch choice. Shannon Peterson with Dawson County Cattlemen says they feed nearly 5,200 students during Ag Week.
We pick it up from Tyson Fresh Meats in Lexington there, so obviously it's raised and produced by all of our local beef producers in this area. So it's kind of fun bringing it all back home to the students to eat.
Peterson said it's also about sharing with them information on the beef industry and where their food is coming from.
You would be amazed at how many people are so far removed from the farm that they are not aware of what all happens in agriculture and how we really strive to raise our animals humanely and to grow our crops humanely. You know, there's a lot of talks about hormones and GMO. We want to let people know that these products are perfectly safe for human consumption.
FFA chapters at each school joined this week's event by helping present some of that information to more than 300 area fourth graders.
We talked to the kids about dairy cattle, beef cattle, production, and the life cycle of beef.
And when it comes to students from farming families, many, like Savannah, see how significant it is to know your beef.
So I feel that it's important for me to understand it, but it's also my family's how we make money and how we get our living off of, and it's something that I want to do in the future too, so I feel that it's important just to continue to do that.
Other schools that are celebrating Ag Week, like here in Gothenburg, are Cozad, Lexington, Eustis, Farnham, Overton, and Sumner, Eddyville, Miller. Sydney Edwards, NTV News, Gothenburg.
And at the state capitol, the clock is ticking on tax relief. Can they get it done?
I'm running out of patience.
A state senator from farm country has had enough.
When you have property taxes, though, over $100 an acre on dry land ground, on irrigated ground, you cannot build that into a business model that works. We cannot sustain this level of taxes.
Senator Kurt Friesen wants to tackle school funding, while the governor wants a percentage of property taxes to be refunded through income taxes. A third approach would expand the sales tax and end loopholes, with the money going to an existing property tax relief program. All three plans share one thing in common: they're all stuck in committee.
And I've always told the governor I'm willing to work with him if he can come up and we can design a plan. I still think there's a possibility we could work together.
Here's the deal, folks. We are running out of time. The legislature needs to work. They need to work now. Okay, so we cannot dilly-dally around any longer.
If they don't act, petitions are circulating to give voters another option.
The ballot initiative is not the answer. It would create a disruption in our state, would mean potentially massive tax increases.
Friesen says he's not a fan of that plan either, but would support it if all else fails. While he seeks common ground with the governor, they both say it's time to get something done.
We have numerous plans out there to do it. It's not that we can't, it's that we won't.
An update now, the governor's plan has advanced but still faces resistance. Members of the Revenue Committee voted 5-3 to advance the governor's measure for full debate. The plan would phase in income tax credits for property owners and gradually reduce Nebraska's top corporate income tax rate until it matches the top rate for individuals. Some opponents on the committee say they're concerned the plan would draw too much money from the state's cash reserve. Governor Ricketts reacting, saying, quote, "High property taxes are hurting farm families and homeowners across our state, and the legislature needs to take action this session." We turn our attention to planting season in this week's poll question. We asked, what's your biggest concern going into planting season? By a large margin, profitability comes in first, followed by drought, and then weeds.
This is the last, best, and only place to teach the public about agriculture.
Next, how the fourth generation from her family farm molds the Nebraska State Fair for the future.